Hey guys, welcome to HipHughes History. We're taking a look at the 2008 presidential election in this video lecture. We're going to take a look at the primaries, take a look at the candidates, take a look at the results, take a look at that big electoral map, and see if we can't wrap our heads around it and say giddy up for the learning. So what are we waiting for? Why don't we get her done right now? 2008 is a watershed year for numerous reasons. Not only is it, of course, the first time an African American is going to win the primary of a major political party and win the presidency, but it's also the first time that two sitting senators, John McCain from Arizona and, of course, Barack Obama from Illinois, are going to face off in an election. The last time that we had an election with no incumbents was 1952, and it's also the first time that neither candidate was born in the continental United States. John McCain was born on a military base in Panama, and, of course, Barack Obama was born in Kenya. I'm only kidding! Of course, he was born in Hawaii. So the electoral map itself is a little bit of a whitewash. Whitewash, should I say that? But you could take a look, 365 electoral votes for Senator and then now President Barack Obama, 173 electoral votes for John McCain. The big difference being that Barack Obama, the Democrat, is going to pick up some southern states. We could see that he's winning North Carolina, he's winning Virginia, he's winning Florida, as well as some of those swing states like Ohio, which is huge. He's winning Indiana, and that's going to allow him to rack up a pretty big total. In terms of turnout, it's 58.2%, the highest percentage of a turnout since 1968. In fact, 43% of the American population voted. That's the highest percentage ever of the total American population. In terms of popular vote, we're looking at about a 53% vote for Barack Obama. That's about 69.5 million votes. John McCain, on the other hand, is picking up about 46%, about 60 million votes. So the end result is going to be a walloping on Barack Obama's part. But the lead up, that's a little bit more complex and a little bit more strange. So let's take a look at the GOP primary, we'll take a look at the Democratic primary, and then we'll see if we can't put together some ideas. So let's take a look at the GOP, and of course the GOP is being led by George W. Bush, who's the incumbent president in 2008, so it's probably important to draw a little bit of context for what's going on with his presidency. After 9/11, George Bush's approval ratings were about 90%, but by 2008, they're wallowing around 25 to 30%. So taking a look and understanding what's going on in the economy with the huge recession that has occurred, the greatest recession since the Great Depression in 1929, and that's occurring right before the election, about a month before. But really, George Bush's handling of the Iraq War, the federal response to Katrina, really has a lot of people shrugging their shoulders at the Republican Party, certainly people that are in the center of the political spectrum. So as we approach the 2007 primaries into 2008, there's a lot of let's say, anti-establishment feeling that's growing in the country. And most of the Republican candidates, for the most part, are pretty inside, except for maybe Ron Paul. But the major contenders, and there's a whole bunch of candidates, you can go look at all of the candidates, but the big ones are Rudy Giuliani, Mike Huckabee, Mitt Romney, and John McCain. Those are the people that are leading in the polls, at least. In fact, it was Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, America's mayor, that led the polls all through 2007. He was the top dog. He was the guy to beat. But of course, we know that Iowa and New Hampshire play a humongous role in presidential politics. So the early primary and caucus that occur in January are really going to start to flesh out that field. And we have Mike Huckabee. I mean, he's an evangelistic. He's a Southerner, a former governor of Arkansas, who's the surprise winner in Iowa, really catapulting him into the top tier. And that was something that wasn't really expected to happen. And if Mike Huckabee did decently in New Hampshire, he might have been the nominee. And in fact, in New Hampshire, all through 2007, it was Giuliani and Romney that were leading in the polls. So New Hampshire is going to be the one that really puts John McCain, the maverick senator from Arizona, into the front of the field when he wins that bad boy. And we have to remember that John McCain is a different kind of Republican. He's not really a Tea Party Republican in terms of an outsider. He's more of a maverick inside the party. And some of those political positions that he's going to hold are going to be detrimental to him in the general election, at least in terms of churning out the GOP base, specifically on immigration. He's always been somebody that's been willing to compromise on immigration, to have some form of amnesty to get the problem put behind us, as well as focusing on border security. But that position is really a turnoff for a lot of the GOP, as well as some of his other positions on social issues. But the primary in New Hampshire is going to launch him into the top tier, and it's really going to be a contest between him, Huckabee, and Giuliani as we go into Super Tuesday and the primaries that follow after. It'll be in March when he sweeps 4 primaries, including Texas, Ohio, Vermont, and Rhode Island in March. That's going to secure enough delegates for him to win the nomination. So by March, we know who the GOP nominee is. It's not going to be the same for the Democrats, of course. So unlike the GOP primary that's wrapped up by March, it's not going to be till June 7th that the Democratic primary is going to be wrapped up. This is going to be a fight to the end of the day. Early on, we had a really long list of contenders. Bill Richardson, Joe Biden, John Edwards, Dennis Kucinich, of course, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, even Stephen Colbert threw his hat into the ring in South Carolina. And nationally, he was polling 2.4%, right below Joe Biden at 2.7%. But nevertheless, if we take a look at the early contest, Iowa and New Hampshire, these are really going to be the ones that are going to flesh out this contest. Before January, Hillary Clinton was in the lead in all of the national polls. She was, trumping everybody else. That was a little bit of a joke, Trump right there. But it's going to be Iowa, and really the organizational skills, the grassroots skills, and the social media skills of Barack Obama that are going to allow him to win Iowa. And it was Hillary Clinton who came in third in Iowa. And I think what happened was that the Clinton campaign really felt as though nobody could compete with her. And they really didn't have a long-range plan of what to do after Iowa and New Hampshire. So when they came in third in Iowa, really they hit the deck trying to figure out what to do. Hillary Clinton gave a series of emotional interviews. She did some really strong performances in debates between Iowa and New Hampshire. And in New Hampshire, she's going to pull out a victory. She's going to upset the polls, and that's going to keep her in this campaign for the long run. John Edwards comes in third in New Hampshire, and then he's going to soon pull out along with everybody else. And really, after New Hampshire, it's a fight between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Now, Super Tuesday, where like 28 states vote, which is in February, we're going to have really essentially a tie. After Super Tuesday, Barack Obama had about 847 delegates to 832 delegates for Hillary Clinton. So this thing is going to keep going. Big primaries on March 4th. You have Ohio, you have Texas, and you have Rhode Island. Even though Hillary Clinton won those contests, Texas has a caucus system as well, and Barack Obama won more delegates from Texas than Hillary Clinton did. April proved to be Hillary Clinton's month. The really big primary early in April is in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania offers more of a traditional demographic, more Hillary Clinton's flavor, right? They're older, they're whiter, they're more Catholic. And Barack Obama made a huge mistake by getting caught on tape, basically stating that voters in Pennsylvania needed to stop clinging to their religion and to their guns. And this was exploited. It was exploited first by the Clinton campaign and later by the McCain campaign to show that Barack Obama was out of touch with middle America. Hillary Clinton's going to win Pennsylvania by 10 points and keep her in this contest. The next big primary is going to be May 6th. We're going to have Indiana and North Carolina. And even though Barack Obama lost Indiana by a very small percentage, he's going to do phenomenally well in North Carolina, turning out the vote, getting young people, getting minorities out to the polls on primary day. And that's really going to help him not clinch the nomination, but at least in the media become the front runner, become the guy who can't be beat. Now, in June, we have a number of super-delegates. Super-delegates are party insiders. They get votes just like regular delegates, but they can vote to their heart's desire, and they're going to attach themselves to Barack Obama, which is going to give him enough delegates to put him over the ledge. The ledge? Over the line in order to be the nomination. Now, one other controversy that occurred was the delegates from Michigan and Florida. Michigan and Florida moved their primaries into January, and they were warned that if they did that, their delegate votes would not count. They did it anyway, and in fact, John Edwards and Barack Obama took their names off the ballot in Michigan and Florida, kind of lining up behind the Democratic Party rules. Hillary Clinton kept her name on, and she won both contests. though she almost lost to uncommitted. And she was fighting to get those delegates seated at the convention, which would have given her a chance to win. At the end of the day, there was a compromise. They were seated with half of a vote, and it's not enough for Hillary Clinton. So Barack Obama is going to take this thing from Hillary Clinton. He's going to steal the baby. And now we have a contest. Barack Obama versus John McCain.
Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na.
At the end of the day, this election is about change versus experience. And because of conditions in the economy and in foreign affairs, it's going to be change that wins the day. Barack Obama is a freshman senator. He doesn't have a lot of political experience. And in most elections, that's going to hurt you. But in this election, it's going to help him. The Iraq War had become tremendously unpopular by 2008. And even though Barack Obama, didn't support the surge of troops in Iraq that was called by General Petraeus, and John McCain did, it was that fundamental level that he opposed the Iraq War from the very beginning that's going to help him win votes. He did the same thing against Hillary Clinton in the primary. I had superior judgment. I voted against that war. That's a nightmare. You voted for that war. We also have the choice of vice president on the table. Barack Obama is going to pick a pretty safe bet in Joe Biden, but John McCain's going to go off the ledge a little bit when he picks Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin, very popular amongst the base of the Republican Party and people that are kind of anti-government, seemed like a good bet to get more votes for John McCain, but she made a series of missteps, really lacking a depth of knowledge about some of the topics that were being discussed that may have hurt him at the end of the day. Of course, there's also other issues. They differ on health care, they differ on tax policy, but John McCain also had some positions that might not have resonated with the GOP base. We talked about before his position on immigration. His belief in global warming didn't exactly, create a love affair between him and some of the base of the Republican Party. So John McCain, the independent maverick, is trying to find his place in this election while trying to garner independent votes, but at the same time trying to turn out the base. And that might have been a problem for him at the end of the day. But perhaps the biggest thing in this election is going to be the economy. And of course, we all know the economy crashes in the fall of 2008, the worst crash since 1929. And Barack Obama was pretty successful in linking John McCain to George Bush. George Bush didn't really campaign in this event. His popularity is way too low. But constantly, Barack Obama would make that connection for voters that John McCain and George Bush were one of the same. And John McCain made some missteps. In an interview after the crash, he was asked how many homes he owned, and he couldn't come up with the answer. It was 7. He also made a statement after the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy that the fundamentals of the economy were strong, and that put him out of touch with a lot of voters. He also said that he wasn't going to come to the first debate, that he had to go to Washington to do business, to come out with a bailout for Wall Street. And although he wasn't really critical in that first bailout and it didn't pass, he ended up going to the debate anyway, and that didn't really settle well with some voters. And a lot of voters, especially in the Republican Party, were against the bailout. They saw this as more big government intrusion into capitalism, and John McCain, of course, supported the bailout. Race probably was also a factor, but not really from the John McCain campaign. McCain ran a pretty honorable campaign, really refusing to go really negative after Barack Obama. The media pretty much did that for him, but there was the kind of the birther claim that he really wasn't one of us. He's one of these others from Kenya or something like that. And there was also connections made in the media between him and his pastor when he was a young man, Jeremiah Wright, making the connection between Barack Obama and his reverend when he was a young man, Jeremiah Wright out of Chicago, who had said some pretty powerful things when it came to race that were upsetting to some voters. But at the end of the day, this is really, like I said before, change versus experience. Yes, we can. That's the motto for Barack Obama, while the Republicans are doing mottos like drill, baby, drill, really kind of policy specific. Barack Obama ran a campaign that resonated with a lot of people that were first-time voters, and his utilization of social media, of YouTube, of Facebook, of Twitter, really put him over the edge in terms of turnout. He ran a 50-state strategy campaign. He went to all 50 states, believing that he could contend in all 50 states, and at the end of the day, this is going to help him win this election. Like we talked about before, if you look at that big map, electorally, it's 365 to 173, and it's states like Iowa and Ohio and Florida and New Mexico. These states that are generally tilting to the Republican side that are going to go for Barack Obama. In fact, Ohio, no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. So Barack Obama is going to win this election, and of course he's then going to take us into his first term, and then we'll have to do another one for 2012, I guess, sometime soon. So we hope you learned a little bit about the 2008 election. Certainly there's tons more to learn. Do some research on your own, but we hope that we helped you grow your brain, and maybe now you can talk about it at the water cooler. How fun is that, kids? So I'll remind you again, where attention goes, energy flows. Giddy up for the learning. We'll see you next time. You press my buttons.